It's my absolute pleasure to introduce our next session, our next speaker, Shovik Roy. Shovik is a very dear friend of mine, actually, and he has over 25 years in the marketing space. So unlike the morning speakers and myself, who accidentally kind of, stumbled upon the work that we do, Shovik was smart enough and stayed focused for 25 years doing exactly what he wanted to do. So just so that you don't get it wrong, he's co-founded and led multiple brands, such as Brand Planet, Elephant, Yap. Shovik has worked with global brands such as Unilever, Coca-Cola, Tata, Reliance, Godfrey Phillips, and especially in the area of strategic, creative, and effective solutions around brand building and performance, and has had senior positions at Ogilvy, at GE Capital, and more recently he's now involved as the Chief Brand Officer at Goat Labs, and he's also looking at business transformation at Media Monks. So Shovik has a unique set of experiences coming from what we now call legacy businesses, hardcore FMCG, to financial services, to the world of advertising and marketing, to absolutely building D2C brands today, right? And was not over here. I always generally tend to have personal stories with some of the speakers here. Shovik is a fantastic singer. And he plays the guitar, and he plays the mouth organ, and his daughter plays the drums, and he actually plays in a band while doing all of this, right? So talk about multi-dimensional personalities. So thank you, Shovik. Thank you very much. He had a fantastic session in the first session of Venture Vault, so no pressure. you got the dual job of keeping us awake after lunch, right? And also talking about strategic marketing. So Shovik Roy.
I'm using this. I'm using this.
Awesome.
Yeah. Thank you very much. Thanks. Okay, I prefer to walk around if that's not a problem with all of you. Yeah, you can see me, and I should be right here. I think they've curated this post-lunch session for me. I didn't ask these questions that why is mine just after lunch? This is like that time where nobody wants to pay any attention, but I hope you guys get something out of this session. One of the reasons why I toiled for 25 years is, unlike some of the people that he talked about, I didn't make enough money early in my life. So if I would have made enough money early in my life, I would have also done a lot of VCs and startups.
You had bought less guitars.
Okay. Yeah, so I will use this time to speak of some of my experiences, but more importantly, I want to connect with all of you to understand what your marketing challenges are. How many of you in the audience are involved in marketing activities for whatever you do? Just a show of hands. That's a great majority. Super, super, super. So I'm hoping that I'm able to answer some of the questions that you may have. Like one of the questions that I keep getting now is, when do you stop brand marketing, and when do you start performance marketing? Particularly people who are spending money on performance, right? How much is too much money? What should be the proportion? I'm happy to take all technical questions, but after we've gone through a little bit of storytelling, right? Okay. So this is pretty much. Marketing is not is of course a science and an art, but there's a lot of art in marketing, and the art starts with understanding of consumers, as many of you know already, right? So while we focus on marketing, not losing sight of the consumer is the first thing that we need to do. So I'm going to talk about customer loyalty a little bit. I know you have another session, customer loyalty, but I'm going to put a brand lens to it, and then I'm going to move on to marketing, just in that manner. What do I do? So like Aditya said, we raised some money and we acquired some brands about 2.5 years ago, and we are trying to grow those brands. They are mainly D2C brands. Our last acquisition was a brand called Chumbak. For those of you who may have been consumers of Chumbak. They've gone through a lot of, they've been there, a very steady brand for the last 10 years, but there have been business challenges which we are trying to somehow overcome and come out of it. It's been a year since
Other than when you're walking up, can you go on stage, then they can catch you on camera?
All right, okay. Okay.
You have to maximize return.
Of course. Anything for shots, like, yeah. Okay, the camera is there. Yeah, all right. Yeah, so what I was saying is that we've acquired a bunch of brands and we're trying to grow them. It's been challenging because our model works on fundraise and therefore being able to pump enough money for marketing. It's not a great time. As those of you, how many of you are in the front fundraise situation here or trying to raise funds? Is there anybody here? Okay, 1, 2. You guys will feel me. It's not a great time to raise any money for doing anything. Market's been like that for the last 18 months. So I've been a little bit out of job, which is why I can spend a lot more time in places like this. Once the money comes in, you'll not see me. So till then, you have me here. We focus mainly on fashion and lifestyle brands. We have brands like True Browns. Any of you consumers of True Browns heard of True Browns? Yeah, 7, 8 women, lovely. More of you should buy True Browns. Also the Label Life, which is a Mumbai brand, started here by Preeta. We acquired it about one of our first acquisitions. And there are a bunch of other brands. There's a long tail of brands. We've acquired about 20 odd brands. 15 plus is a little dated number. We've been growing, but growth has been at a pretty steady state. Last year we grew about 45%, but in our business you got to go 100% every year. So hopefully we'll grow. So some of the things that I'm going to share are newer learnings, and some of the things that I'm going to talk about is things that don't change in terms of brand building. Okay. Okay, so I said that things change, some things remain the same. So I'm going to go to the fundamentals of branding. Please don't kill me. It may seem like you're going back to B school, but I thought it was very important for me to give you a perspective on what brands are and how I simply look at brand building. So, brand management. How many of you are doing brand management? I understand marketing, but branding people, I know I met 1 or 2 of you. Yeah, of course, yeah. So, brand management, early brand management was very easy. You know how the word brand came about? What's the meaning of the word brand? Any roots? Absolutely. So, this guy is actually doing brand management. He's stamping on cattle, right? It used to be that stamp that you heat and you stamp your cattle. That was brander. Brander, the word, original word, and that's how brand building really came about. Who knows what the first consumer brand was? Coca-Cola? Okay, that's a great answer. Sorry? God. No, I'm talking about consumer brands. Okay, I don't want to have that debate. I don't want to have that debate about God being the brand and which brand of God came first. No, I'm not going down that path, right? That's a no-no for me. Okay, so the first consumer brand was actually 1873. Colgate was the first trademark, followed, thank you, very soon by Coca-Cola, which was trademarked in 1887. So brand building as a profession is actually not that old if you think about it. In the history of humankind, it's about 150 years old, less than that, right? So it's a newer discipline compared to some of the other things that we have. And the reason why anybody branded it was actually not very different from branding of cattle, which is actually to tell you that, okay, this comes from this house, or this comes from the house of Coca-Cola. You may have sodas in sodas, but then there is Coca-Cola. You may have a shampoo or a toothpaste, but here is one that comes from Colgate, or here is one that comes from Palmolive, right, later on. So that was really the intent. There was no real, beyond just recognition and being a trust mark, there was not much that was done at that time, right? Then things started changing, competition started hotting up, people realized that people who are branded are selling more than unbranded products, and then what happened is, from being an identifier, which is from cattle branding, which is the classical dictionary or Akar definition of branding that you have, which is a name or a symbol, etc., that you read in textbooks, it started moving, right? There are some slides which are gone. Oh my God. There are some slides which are gone. I'll talk through them. I have no choice but to talk through them. Okay, so cattle branding and identifier. Then in the 60s, things started changing, and there was this entire I would say, model that emerged around positioning. There was a gentleman called Roger Reeves. I don't know if you've read his books ever. He came up with this thing called USP, or unique selling proposition, right? So people started saying that, okay, trademark is not enough, or being a symbol is not enough. I need to add something to it which makes me distinct, but also makes me better than you. So the entire concept of USP was to tell you that I'm better than others. It's a very simple concept, right? So I may have a cow, but my cows are fatter New Jersey cows. I mean, that's really how it changed, right? From this is my cow to I have fatter New Jersey cows, right? And then after that, the entire brand philosophy started changing around the 70s and 80s, actually, early 80s, and people said, no, a brand is not about just being better or have an USP. There is a personality to every brand, and there's a relationship that the brand has with you, right? I'm buying this because of a reason. All of you who consume brands, you know that there's actually, beyond a point, there's no logical reason why you're going for them. You're buying a very expensive, I don't know, Valentino. That's the new showroom in Bombay, I believe. You're buying something Valentino. I mean, beyond a point that nothing justifies that cost. It's of course an emotional reason why you're going there. Then people said that, okay, people will pay a premium when there is a personality to the brand and when people have this connection with the brand, right? So that concept started kind of evolving after that, which basically says, I mean, to continue with the cow example, I would say, I believe that my cows give better milk because they are happier cows. Right? I've told you they're happier cows. You have to believe that they're happier cows. And this is my belief. So it's my belief system which I'm transmitting to you. If you believe that they are happier cows and therefore they give better milk, then you'll obviously consume it. So there is now suddenly the brand building is from one way, it's become two ways. It's like I'm telling you a story and there is somebody who's sitting in front of me who has to believe that story. Till the time the belief is established, there is no real story. There is no real reason why anybody would pay any premium for it, right? So people started telling all these stories. People started selling stories across all brands, across all categories. The ones that survived are the ones where there was credibility to the story, right? You can say anything to anyone. You can say anything to anyone and get away with it sometimes, but not all the time. So brands which have lasted, like Coca-Cola or Colgate or any of these, you see that they have evolved with time, but their promises have kept up with the target population. You look, imagine a brand 150 years old. It's still continuing to be relevant. And that is always targeted a 15 to 18-year-old or a 14-year-old in the case of sodas, right? So the 14-year-old is not 14-year-old anymore. So you've continuously connected with them, right? That's one part of it, right? So those slides are the ones that disappeared. Okay, I've just told you that. But in very simple words, if you have to remember what's a brand, I have a very simple acronym which I read many, many years ago and it still resonates with me. Sorry. Yeah. Which is an acronym called a path. So I make a promise, you accept the promise. Over a period of time, there is trust that is built. And because of this trust, you eventually have hope. And that's really the relationship of a brand and a consumer. And one of my favorite examples that you cannot get away with lies. Like I can come into this room and I can tell you I'm the smartest person in the planet. In your head, you're thinking, what an asshole. I can't change the way you think. I can say whatever I want. You will continue to think what you want to think. Till the time I say something really smart and I continue to say something really smart, then you will conclude in your head that, hey, here is a smart guy, or vice versa, right? So your impression of brands is also curated and created over a period of time. Nothing happens. Like a lot of founders come to me and said, I am spending so much money in building my brand and nothing is happening. I said, hello, you're just born. It takes time. Be consistent. You have to be consistent. You have to tell stories and people have to believe that story, come back to you again and again because they have believed in that story. And there are enough examples of brands that have lived that path, right? So there are two brands that I've been integral to giving birth to. And I'm very, very proud of them. One of them is Paperboat. Many, many years ago, Neeraj had come back to India from his studies in the US, and he used to be an ex-employee of Coca-Cola. And we sat down in a room, and they used to be peddling a drink called Zynga. Have you heard of Zynga? It used to be an energy drink. Yeah, it disappeared without a trace. I think it's still, maybe they will revive it somewhere. So we were all sitting down in a room, and I remember there was a small office. Those of you familiar with Gurgaon, I don't think too many people like Gurgaon in this room. But those of you familiar with Gurgaon, you'll know there's a South City one, which is one of the older bungalow communities. And the company was called Hector Beverages. It's still called Hector Beverages, not was. Neeraj will kill me. And Hector is the name of the dog who used to be the first employee of Hector. I mean, in a manner of speaking, right? Lovely dog, right? So there was one room of 4 founders and 1 dog, and we were talking about this dream of launching Indian drinks. Like, Indians want to drink nimbu pani, I can't go anywhere to find. I don't find nimbu pani. Indians jaljeera, I can't find ampanna, I can't find amras. I don't find those drinks in a packaged way, right? That's how the conversation started. Now, it could have been a drink which was just launched and forgotten about, right? But no, that's not it. Then we put together an entire structure of how there is a big urban migration that's happening in India. A lot of people, how many of you are not born and raised in Mumbai and are living here? Yeah? You are a minority. Usually, when I'm asking this in a room in Delhi or Bombay, most of the people are raising their hands because a lot of the people are not born and raised in the city. And when they come back, when they leave their homes and come to the cities, they have left a part of their childhood, growing up years, food habits back home. And that time, I love to do consumer research. I love to talk to people and get insights. Sometimes scarily people don't talk to me saying, you know too much about me by now. So what I found is that this entire thing of nostalgia was so vivid. Like, anytime you speak to anybody who's grown up, let's say in Indore and has come to Mumbai to work, they will talk about their food that was in Indore. They will talk about what their mother used to make. So we said, this is a very ripe space. Let's forget about everything else and build a brand around nostalgia. That's how Paperboat, Kagaz Ki Kashti, etc., memories, drinks and memories, Paperboat was born, right? I'm just giving an example, one of my favorite examples. And to think about it, it was actually not too long ago. It was 11 years ago today, 2012. 11 is when we started talking, 12 is when we started working, 12 is when Paperboat was launched. And then Paperboat, see, the power of a brand is that if you have a powerful enough promise and if you have an insight that it hooks on to, it lives. And today, it's a success story. It's available everywhere. All of us at some point in time have consumed Paperboat. And one of the biggest reasons that Paperboat succeeded was because of an airline which Aditya used to lead. And it was, and he's laughing, of course, because he knows it. And we didn't have any marketing monies, absolutely zero paisa. And there was a new airline which was called Indigo Airlines, right? And Indigo Airlines was very keen to do some partnerships, get some things cheap, make money, Aditya. No? Make money, how can I make money? And we gave them a great deal, saying, you know what, take away all our Paperboats and just sell it. It's a great drink, right? So that happened. So Neeraj was very happy. I don't know who he was dealing with at Indigo. With another Neeraj, yeah. So that deal happened, and anybody who flew Indigo between 2013 to 2016, which was the best years of Indigo, I think, and not because my friend was there, but just the best years, because when it becomes much larger, more challenges creep in, right? And everyone saw Paperboat and Indigo. Everyone, right? People started talking about, people started reading the packs. There was hardly any social media, but people started reading the packs and sending messages on Twitter saying, who wrote this? Lovely stories. Each and everything that you think that is not something that is consumer is picking up, you'd be so surprised that the consumer is picking up everything because they love you or they've bought into this promise. That's when I say consistency of promise is what it is. You have to give people hope that there's a hope for a happier tomorrow, a better tomorrow. I'm going to look good today. Tomorrow's going to be better. Brand building only works on positive motivation. Nobody has built a brand saying you're going to die tomorrow or you're going to look ugly, right? Or no negative motivation ever works. It has to be comforting for people who are saying this is dangerous, so okay, it's safety and comfort, all the way to positive motivation saying it's going to do magical things to you, right? So that's really the territory of brand. So I just want to leave this PATH as an acronym to all of you. Let me see how many other slides have got deleted. No, okay. So before I move into marketing and challenges of marketing today, I would say that, basically when you talk about brand management, there are 3 aspects of brand management. One is the brand identity, One is the brand strategy, and the third is marketing, which is brand marketing, as different from performance marketing, which I shall talk about a little later for those of you who are not so aware of it. Brand identity is very simply who am I? And the simpler your definition of who am I is, the easier it is to communicate to people. If there's a one-word association that you can have with your brand, or a simple phrase, or something that it's not a tagline, it's not an advertising line, it's what you stand for. If Nike is there, I think Nike stands for winning. So anything that is about winning, or in sports or anything, that's Nike. If it's Adidas, I will think of team sports, like football, like anything that's team sports, right? That's my impression of it. If it's, let's take some other category. Let's take National Geographic, Nat Geo channel. Okay, it's a television channel. Why do I watch Nat Geo channel? Maybe because there's an intrepid explorer in me. I look at myself as that, and that's the reason. So likewise, whenever you're crafting any identity, you should try and use, and there are plenty tools in the market, there are plenty of knowledge in the market, but come to that little crisp definition of what you are, and then get into brand strategy, which is your segmentation and positioning. Of course, this identity has to be relevant. For those of you who've done your MBAs, you know it very well. In my head, segmentation is all about finding out behaviors and needs where you can map your consumers, and therefore position yourself to be something which is a great solve for their needs and their behaviors, right? So consumer understanding, need understanding, any psychology majors here? Yeah, you are naturals at this, right? So, or get people who understand people better, because you have to get the nuances of people to be able to craft a good brand strategy. And lastly is brand marketing, which is once I know who I am, and once I've defined who I am for and what I'm going to say, I'm going to put together a bunch of things together to ensure that it reaches the right people in the right manner, by way of whatever communication. I can make films, I can make outdoors, I can make whatever I want, right? There are tons of ways in which I can reach my consumer promise to you, right? And that's brand marketing. The three basic principles. Pardon me if I'm getting very pedantic, but I thought I should start with that. And you know what's happening now, and then I'm jumping now. Like this is what is traditional knowledge which you cannot refute. It's standing the test of time. It will always stand the test of time. Now come to something which is happening now. This is actually impacted us in more ways. The first question that I heard somebody ask Aditya was about social media as I entered the room. It has impacted us in ways that we don't even fathom or understand, right? This explosion has given us a voice. This explosion has given people a reason to, say that, okay, I can be a mouthpiece for something. Whether it's activism, whether it's brands, whether it's people, whether it's politics, whether it's anything, right? So it's become a way of portrayal of who we are in many ways. So that is also a challenge, because I'm exposed to so much content all the time. I don't know how to reach you with little monies that I have when I have a startup, and that's a real challenge, right? There are people who are outspending you all the time, and if I'm spending, let's say, 1 lakh rupees on my Instagram post promotion, I don't see any results, because it's just completely out there saying that everybody is spending much more money, and I'm getting drowned in that. Now there comes the challenge of creating things which stand out, which is what the creative challenge is. So then you bring in some conversations which others are not making happen. You make those conversations happen. You make it more relevant for people, and people will be kind of glued on to you. And the second thing is that there is a very large scale adoption of technology that's happening. What we don't realize is that last 5 years or 6 years have been a game changer for all of us. This democratization of gadgets, which has gone to everybody, right? This is no longer a black box. Everyone, and somebody was just telling me this morning, no, just now, that were you telling me about Blinkit orders? So yeah, 84-year-olds ordering on Blinkit, it's a done thing. And Blinkit was born a year and a half ago. It's not even like 10 years ago, right? So the rapidity with which things are changing in front of us is just not funny. What it does is, it gives us a lot more opportunities to connect and communicate our promises, marketers, but it also poses equally important challenge of how will I ensure that my voice is heard? Because we're getting drowned and there are so many things that I can do and I don't know what to do. And that's why marketers are paid money, saying that, you find me that mix of things that I can do rightly in the market, right? And and what these companies have done, and if any of you work there, you should be proud. And they've actually brought accountability to the companies, saying that, if there's a user journey, and you must have heard of user journey being talked about many times, it's like, how am I connecting with the user journey and making each and every experience worth the while? Like this morning, this afternoon, I was trying to book an Uber, and they only had those little small cars, and it just messed me up. I just went to the counter and I ordered another car. So it's an experience point, right? And it matters, and that matters in the next transaction that I will make with an Uber or make with anybody else, right? So these are things that are happening on a real-time basis. So not only do you need to know the narrative, not only do you need to shape the narrative, you also have to know how to intersect in the journeys of consumers. What are the points and how do I intersect? I think airlines do a great job, hotels do a great job, because they're all about building experiences. And it's hard like hell to build experiences. If you have a product brand, how many of you are in consumer brand space who are selling consumer brands? Something. Okay, a few of you. Consumer brand space is probably the most challenging space to do marketing in, because you have a large number of people that you need to reach out to with limited resources. That's always the challenge in consumer marketing. Whether you're a Unilever or you're a Britannia or you're a startup, it doesn't make any difference. However, if you have a good understanding of the customer journey, you, with lesser amount of money, will be able to make an impact which is going to be absolutely different from anybody else is doing. I'll give you an example. Last year, for Tata Tea, we had done a simple thing on, this is for Media Monks, I wear a couple of hats, right? Media Monks is a film production digital company. And there, in Punjab for Lodi, we did, you know what tappa is? How many Punjabis in the room? Do you know what tappa is? Yeah. So tappa is like a song which is sung in celebration, right? And what we did was a very simple thing. We made Shahnaz Gill sing a tappa, and we ensured that the tappa can be tailored to a person's name. What's your name? Priya. So tailored to Priya, and I can say, Priya, congratulations on your promotion, or whatever it is, right? So then Shahnaz Gill on WhatsApp, I can send it to you, can sing a tappa for Priya saying congrats on your promotion. She will say that first. Customized. Absolute custom, hyper customization on WhatsApp. Tech allows you to do that. Craft allows you to do that. And you know what? It got viral, and it doesn't cost as much money as you think it is. It costs you less than a 30-second IPL ad, to be very, very frank. Because that's the power of a potentially viral idea. But it has to be born out of a consumer truth. You have to know the consumer nuances, the culture of Punjab, what's done, and then intersect this tech, what is available now. You're saying there's a lot of tech, but how are you using tech to build the solutioning? You cannot go back to saying that, okay, I'm going to launch a brand, and I'm going to do TVCs there. Yeah, all the best. As long as you have a 100 crore budget in marketing, please go ahead and do it. But if you don't have 100 crores or even a 50 crores, don't even think about it. Because this is not what you can afford to do as a startup or a D2C or a founder. You have to find out easier ways, better ways, where you use tech and you use the customer journey to intersect their lives. Does that make sense? Any questions? I'm happy to take questions in the middle as well. Okay. Whenever the question, please raise your hands and ask me questions if you want any clarity on this.
Shovik,
Yeah.
From the journey so far, right? And when you if you kind of think about the brands that you're currently involved with, all D2C brands,
Yes.
Where is the biggest hurdle challenge that they're facing? Is whether in terms of choosing the strategy, whether it's terms of execution, whether it's partners, whether it's employees, building a team.
Yeah.
Where do you think is the most amount of clutter happening, where it's becoming not as efficient as this sounds?
Great question. I think a little bit on all of them, but if I have to put my priority hat on, I would say the first thing that gets neglected is if you're launching anything, what's your story? What's your long-term story? I think a lot of importance is not given to that because you want to launch tomorrow. Your entire go-to-market mix that you have, the initial thought process, I don't think is given to most of the startups. I mean, that's one key area. The second is, of course, budgets. Second is, of course, the money that you have to, build any kind of narrative outside. That part of it is, it is addressable when you start growing, then you start getting the money and start pumping it in. And the main problem with the first part is that there is a little paucity of talent also in the beginning, because not every founder or every startup has the ability to create the narrative and tell the stories. So how do you engage, how do you get that talent to work with you? Because unfortunately, there are, say this is the basket of marketing leaders in the country, they're all distributed across larger companies or funds. They've all taken them in, the best talent, and some advertising agencies will also have them. Now between all of this, how do I attract? If I hire an agency, so I've led Ogilvy for a while, till 2022, and it's the largest advertising agency in India. And if you want to hire anybody, if you want to hire an agency like an Ogilvy to work with you, you'll never be able to afford them when you're starting out, right? It'll take you time. It'll take you scale. You need to be able to afford that. So the best thing to do is to find out the talent which you can mix right in the beginning to create this narrative for the future. I think that's one thing I would say is the number one issue that needs sorting. Because after that, when you've done 6 months of work and spending money and all that, to come back and change the narrative is a big challenge. Because you spend 6 months of time, you spend 6 months of money. In fact, I was just speaking to this lady who used to work with me. She gave birth to a founder. She was a founder of a menswear brand. She launched it last year, about seven months ago. And she had a very candid conversation with me. Even when we started, I said, this path is fraught with problems. Menswear in India on D2C is not going to work very well, but do it. So she did it, and she pulled the plug in 6 months. See, you have to have the maturity also to know whether it's working or not working for you, right? So, and sometimes I know founders and I know many entrepreneurs who just get sucked in and sucked in and sucked in and sucked in, and they don't know when to stop. You are just going after it, saying tomorrow is going to be a better day. No, it's fine. If you're not seeing results, there's no harm in coming out of it and rephrasing it. Most successful startups in the world have done multiple pivots. And I'm not talking about today. I'm talking about things as old as Marlboro cigarettes. It was launched as a women's cigarette, right? So think about it. Legendary brands that we all look up at, they didn't succeed the first time they repositioned themselves. They kept repositioning themselves. They kept repivoting. You want to change your business model. If you're in the tech space, you want to change your pivot into something else that you're doing. If you're doing something on AI, then what is that you're doing on AI? Are you adding a layer? Are you creating magic out of many open AIs that you're doing? And you can keep pivoting. The first 2-3 years of any startup, we have pivoted 4-5 times, doing different things, saying, you know what, this doesn't work, so move on, do something else. The other thing that I wanted to touch upon is data. And I'm sure there are better speakers about data than I am. But I can tell you this, that anyone who is starting marketing seriously now, if you are not a good data reader and you are reliant on people or agencies or anything else, change now. I'm speaking because I'm probably a lot older than many of you in this room, and learning new ropes. So last year I went through GA4 training. You know what GA4 is? Google Analytics 4. So Google Analytics has a dashboard, Meta has a dashboard. You can be whoever, you can be Grand Wazoo of the world, but if you want to do marketing, reading and analyzing, interpreting data with the click of your mouse with your own hands is very, very important. I will never take away the seriousness of it. You can rely on presentations that your teams make or your agencies make and all, but till the time you actually get familiar with the dashboards, familiar with whatever you're throwing out there, what is it getting you? How are you managing the cohorts where you're spending? How is it moving? What kind of content is working for you? Till the time you have your personal, kind of a take on that, shaping the narrative is going to be very difficult. This is mainly for those who are interested in building something new for the future, right? So Data is one thing that I would say that if you can get into data, you may not be an expert, have somebody who's an expert, but keep your eyes on it. Because if you're starting out on your own, if you're leading a venture, you need to keep your eyes on data. Don't just rely on people. So this is just one slide that kind of captures most of what I said in terms of the marketing challenges today. So what I said was that tech has been an enabler of our lives, and we have no idea how powerful this gadget in your hands that you're clicking pictures with is going to, what shape it's going to take tomorrow, right? So that is making consumers expect much more, being unrealistic about their experiences. So therefore you have to work harder and harder in terms of shaping any narrative that you have for your consumers. Large amounts of consumer behavior data is being generated on an everyday basis. Anything that you're doing is giving you a data point, right? Your purchase cycle, you're clicking anything, even the picture that you're clicking is backing up in the Apple or your Google Drive, and that's also a point of data. Everything, and they know where you are. So how do I use this data as a marketer? And the last is that the higher focus on ROI for businesses than ever before. This is one thing that I've learned more in the last 2 years, because there used to be a point in time that we were given marketing budgets, right? And let's say I have a brand and I have a marketing budget of, let's say, 10 crores, right? Most of that money would go into television, press, outdoors for campaign. Let's say I'll do a 4-month campaign. Traditional media plans used to be like that, right? All of it has changed in the last 6 years, 5-6 years. Everything has changed. Nobody goes that far. First you see how much money you have, and then you see maybe this much money is probably good enough for me to just be on Insta and do something pop, or work on an influencer campaign, right? Work with somebody who's a big influencer or a big name and just do a semi-celebrity campaign or whatever. So your ROI driven activity, ROI will give you a lot more. ROI is the handle which you will use to ascertain where the money is going. For example, there are brands in the UAE where the influencer handle sells more cosmetics than the company's D2C website. This is not a story, this is real. Okay. Now, how does that happen? How did the company discover that? Accidentally. But then the entire budget is going into shooting with them, creating content on her Instagram page, directing traffic. They have Insta store there, which we don't have in India. They've been promising us a lot, but it's not come yet. So on Instagram itself, you can make the purchases. So everyday content being shaped. Every day people are purchasing on the Instagram store, which she hosts. The company doesn't host, right? So like that, I mean, it's not so simple anymore. It's like you have to get deeper and deeper into understanding who? Consumers. If you don't understand your consumers deeply and their behavior deeply, you will not know how to spend that money. So that's the ROI part, right? And in the ROI, I have to mention this, that there are certain brands that work much better on platforms than D2C. Like there are certain brands which will sell more on Amazon and Flipkart and all than on your own website. And a lot of you may have tried to sell things on your own website, but it's damn expensive. The cost, what the CAC spends are extremely high. So sometimes it is okay to say, okay, let me not get egomaniacal about it. It's fine. I'm spending on Amazon a little bit. It's giving me 10%, 12% is the amount of money that I'm going to spend for whatever sale I'm getting, and that's fine. You can park the brand building narrative for later, because business first. When you start making money, you will have the money to spend money. When you don't make money, then there's no point of creating illusions about saying that, I have this big brand narrative that I've created. No point. Yeah. Yes.
Hi. So just touching upon that, how important is the narrative if you then decide to park the brand in an aggregator portal format like a Myntra, like a Amazon?
Yeah.
You've now kind of parked that ambition to build your brand and your narrative. Then it's just product. Right.
So again, good question. Depends on the category. Let's say if you want to sell something on Myntra, let's say it's fashion and you want to sell on Myntra, your customer will still need some support in terms of brand building narrative. So you'll still have to have a social media page. You still have to work with influencers. People, or women or men, whoever you're selling to, may buy from Myntra, but the story that they have to build in their heads is still going to be relevant. So yeah, you may not be spending as much money as you would do when you're parking the brand on your website and selling, but the storytelling still needs to continue. Otherwise, you will be a product, like you said. If you become a commodity, then there is no premium that you'll get. Why do you build brands? Brand building is the most capitalistic thing that we can ever do. I'm selling something that costs 10 rupees, at 100 rupees, at 1,000 rupees, in the case of Louis Vuitton, 2,000 rupees, right? So please understand that the cost, the COGS as we call it, the cost of goods is the commodity cost. Brand building is only adding to it. So the better your brand, the more premium you can charge. Like we have this brand, True Browns, which I spoke about. True Browns sells, okay, I'm wearing True Browns. This is the men's range that they launched. And this, when it gets launched in the new season, sells for about 3,500 to 4,500 rupees for a set. I'm not wearing the set, but for a set, right? So it's not expensive, but it's not cheap. If you go to Myntra, you'll get something similar for 900 rupees, for 1,200 rupees, right? But they sell most on Myntra. Yeah, that's what it is. Myntra is one of the largest channels. Of course, website selling also happens, but Myntra is one of the largest channels, right? So it's brand building will never be relevant for anybody who's not trying to sell a commodity. If you have if you want to command a premium, you have to do something, but spend a little money, not too much, or get some influencer activation done.
How much is too much money? How much is like when if any of the members were trying to sell something, what's the kind of any thumb rule on whether it makes sense to go through a marketplace or whether it makes sense to kind of do your own website?
Yeah.
And when do you think it'll be like, look, we're spending way too much, let's just cut our losses, this is not working?
Yeah, so there are a few things, numbers that I will just throw at you. If you're trying to sell on your website, and if you're spending anything more than 30 paisa for a rupee of sale or 40 paisa for a rupee of sale, it'll start getting difficult for you. So I would say anything below 30, you can continue building and hoping that it'll come to a 25, 26 paisa. But anything above 30 is watch, because you're still going to make some money, because typically, let's talk about fashion. In fashion, typically your COGS are between 20, 22%. So anything that you wear across all brands, they cannot cost you more than 22% as COGS, right? Add other costs to it, the logistics, delivery, etc., etc. So you add another 30 to it, and then you add another 30 of marketing spends on performance marketing, not brand marketing spends. You're already at a 1995. So to make 5% money, you're doing so much work, right? So you have to reduce that 30 to less. So the ROAS or the CAC, as they say, 30 paisa, more than 30 paisa is dangerous territory, right? Now that's so far as performance is concerned. But brand marketing, as such, there's no rule of thumb. But for consumer brands, my suggestion is that you start off with anything between, for a small startup brand, you look at your aspirations. Suppose you want to make 10 crores, you want to sell 10 crores in a year, take a 6 to 7% of that and spend in brand marketing. Let that be a number that you start with. It can keep going lower down to about a 4% or a 3% as your brand progresses, but definitely spend about a 6-7% in the first year so that you have at least some eyeballs, right? It's not a lot of money. It's not a lot of money. It's then you need to be supporting whatever you're doing on channels like Amazon and all with some social media presence and some spends that you make, because you still have to make the creatives, right? You still have to evolve the promise. You will buy some banners on Amazon, you buy some banners on Myntra, you may do a film, or you may do some, what you call A+ content, which is really the content that is on the Amazon page. So that little money you have to spend anyway, but that's small money. But brand marketing, you should park on social media, on spreading the message to your community, to a certain number of people that you have. You spend that money. Yes, sir.
Sir, right now you said if I have a target of 10 CR,
yes,
I should spend around 4 to 6%
on brand marketing.
Brand marketing, right,
yes,
sir? But what will be in the case of a service industry? For
Service
example,
industry,
I'm a travel consultant.
right.
Right. So my firm name is Travel Stories.
Okay.
Suppose if I'm doing a branding for Taj, what should be the ratio for that? In
No,
a
so
sense,
you are going to do the branding for Travel Stories or for Taj?
Travel Stories.
You're going to do the brand building for Travel Stories?
Stories, yes.
Okay.
And
See, yeah, and you're selling to consumers. You want consumers to know. It'll pretty much be the same ballpark.
Yeah. See, what happens is if you are buying Taj properties from online or from me, you get a discounted price from me.
Okay.
That the profit margin is very marginal. Very marginal.
No, so you have to look at. See, okay, I understand. So what you're saying is that you say, let's say you sell 100 rupees, you make 10 rupees out of it. If I spend 6 rupees on, I'm just giving an example, 6 rupees on brand marketing, I'm left with nothing. Is that the question you have? Yeah. Okay. So these numbers don't work for you. That 10 that you're earning, you'll have to base on that. So your number will be much smaller. Your number would be closer to a 1%, 0.8 to a 1%, because you cannot afford more than that.
Shovik, can I add on to something?
Yeah.
See, I asked you to think about something at lunchtime. This is a very important question to think. It starts with a very simple thing. Who's your consumer? And if XYZ is the consumer, what are you trying to sell to them? Are you trying to sell Taj to them, or are you trying to sell Travel Story?
Yeah.
Right? That is a very important thing. Then you will know what to spend money on. It may satisfy our ego to sell them Travel Story, but that is not what the consumer wants or is paying for. That consumer is paying for Taj. So, a personal example, I mean personal in the sense that something I've been involved in. People used to always ask me, and this you would be familiar with it, but the rest of the people, like, what did these Indigo people do before the Indigo airline, right? And 99 out of 100 people will say, I think they were a travel agency, right?
Yeah.
And then I point out to them, actually, no, they used to be the airline representatives of 16 international airlines in India. Nobody knew before Indigo who Interglobe was. But Interglobe has been around in India since 1965, or I mean some version of Interglobe. Delta, American, United Airlines, Virgin Atlantic, Scandinavian Airlines, everything that you see is Interglobe offices, Interglobe people. Even the flight attendants on a Virgin Atlantic aircraft are Interglobe employees. They're just wearing a Virgin Atlantic uniform. Somehow they knew better to market and better to advertise and better to brand build United and Scandinavian Airlines and Virgin Atlantic. It does not matter if anybody knows Interglobe or not. So that's the thing. Shovik, just one thing. I want to just again supplement something that Shovik was saying. There's a very successful venture fund, consumer brand venture fund called Fireside Ventures. In fact, they were the Kaval, who's the founder of Fireside, is the original investor in Hector Beverages in Paperboat as well. So I mean, so just an incredible thing. So I was talking to Vinay, who's one of his partners. And he was saying the same numbers. This was just maybe 4 weeks back that he was in our office. That when you're building a consumer business, if you let's say spend 40 crores to get the first 100 crores of revenue, right? In terms of and in terms of marketing and things like that, then the next 100 crores should come at 30 crores, and the next 100 crores should come at 20 crores, kind of a thing, which kind of ties up with that 30 paisa, 40 paisa example.
So 30 paisa is your cost of sale. So, and then I am adding 5-6 to the brand marketing cost. I'm just splitting it. So actually my number precisely is 36. Yeah. So that's the ballpark that you take when you want on the first.
And I want to just. Anybody over here, just to keep it participative, anybody over here who can just volunteer to explain what gross margin means? Anybody? It's okay if you don't, but anybody who's familiar with the term gross margin? Yeah.
So basically, revenues minus cost, as simple as that.
Revenues minus cost of goods sold. Cost of goods sold. So sometimes you will hear people say, अरे यार उसका gross margin is 54%, gross margin is 60%, right? It is 100 minus 40 is 60. Okay. 100 minus 36 is 64, right? So in because he was talking about True Brown, let's say if you look at Fab India and their gross margin on their apparel business, I used to sit on the board of Fab India, will be in that same 58 to 64, 63 range, depending on which this thing. So that's the, just to unpack terms like what is gross margin, what's the cost of goods sold, etc. Sometimes you will hear the next level, maybe between today, tomorrow we'll talk about it. Somebody will ask you what is L1 margin, what is contribution margin 1, what is contribution margin 2. Just like Sairi was telling you, running a business is no different from running a chai shop.
Absolutely.
Please think about it exactly like that.
Yeah.
You're selling something, how much does it cost, how much does it take to bring the stuff there, how much does it take to advertise it. Business, whether you're running an airline or whether you're running a clothes shop, it is the same. Don't get intimidated by it.
So in the business that I am in, we evaluate success or failure by CM3, which is what he's saying, which is contribution margin 3, which is everything apart from the people cost is there. So anything that you can imagine, right? Yes.
So the question is on, like you said, for fashion brands, True Brands, right?
Yes.
So the difficult place is you want to maintain your margins, you want to cover the marketing cost, so your pricing keeps going up because
Absolutely.
your COGS is increasing because my investment in everything is going up, and that balance becomes hard because
pricing in consumer brands is another territory altogether. We can have another pricing expert who can come and talk. You're absolutely right.
I'll try to address it a little bit tomorrow.
Yeah. So that'll be great. So what happens here is that, when you're creating a brand, you have a certain benchmark. Like he gave the example of Fab India. You know what Fab India pricing is. I also know what other brands pricing is, right? When I have an endeavor saying that, okay, where am I going to position it? Is it going to be value? Is it going to be value plus? Is it going to be premium? Is it going to be affordable luxury? It is going to be luxury, right? So I've already defined a price point basis my aspiration, right? In that bracket, I'm trying to say how expensive can I be? Because also what we haven't discussed, which is the elephant in the room, is there's a hell of a lot of discounting that happens, right? So, and there is also a lot of goods that come back to you. So there are return goods, which is a cost. There's a bunch of other costs that we haven't even spoken about. And that could be anything between 15%, 12%, which is returns only. So where is that coming from? From your margins, right? So your pricing will have to take all of these into account and say, what is a prudent price for me? How long will I hold MRP? So what is my average selling price? What we call ASP, right? So my average selling price will define how long will I be MRP, when will I be one level discount, when will I be bulk discount, right? Usually there are 2 levels of discount that everybody goes for. So a lot of marketing is also a lot about Excel. It's a lot about Excel and pricing. So and if you keep, and people ask, how do you know it's the right price or not? You don't know. You try. Right? You launch something for 3,000 rupees. If it doesn't sell, terrible pricing. The next time you launch something, you launch it for 2,500 rupees. Or if it sells more and goes out of stock in 4 days, again terrible pricing. You price it at 4,000 rupees and sell the next time, right? Because you have to define success with, this is the amount I'm making, this is the money I have to make, and this is the amount of time that is going to live. So if you've sold all your goods in 15 days, you have nothing else to sell. Terrible thing for a brand. I go to the website and I say out of stock my size, out of stock my size. Oh, all the M's are gone, all the S's are gone, all the L's are gone. I'm left with the ends, right? That means it's been a terrible planning for me. So a lot of fashion is also about planning, right? So the entire function of planning is devoted to this. How much do I make? How much do I discount? What's my ASP going to be? How do I structure this plan? How much do I buy and when? So all that.
The pricing strategy pushes you out of your brand identity because you try to
100%.
envision yourself as a certain position, and then the market behaves differently.
Yeah, 100%. We've evaluated a lot of brands in the last 2-3 years, which keep coming to us for, saying that, why don't you buy this brand? There are some legendary brands which have been born out of Bombay, and I'll not name them because we didn't acquire them. They're right now selling women's tops that they used to sell for 6,000-7,000 rupees in stores in Mumbai malls and Delhi malls. I remember they used to have a store in Ambience Mall in Delhi, the new Ambience Mall, when it just came about, 6,000 rupees, 5,000 rupees, premium brand, everything. Right now they're selling it Myntra for 1,200 rupees. Right? So, yeah, it can kill you, and pricing can kill you. See, sometimes you will have to ingest a little bit of failure also. To say, okay, I launched a lot of things, it didn't work, but that's okay. I cannot go down to that level. Because it's a downward slope. Once you start reducing your price to sell, there is, it's just bad news. Then you're constantly going to be reducing your price and selling. That never works for anybody across any category. So if you have defined, if you've done the hard work of understanding your consumers and what they can pay for what value you're adding, reducing prices, of course you will sell. But then you're killing your brand. Yeah.
Are you okay to take more questions now, or do you want to?
I'm okay. I'm actually going to play some inspiring things, so I'm happier to take questions actually.
So Deepika, do you want to go first?
Hi, I wanted to ask you, about these two brands that you've acquired, Chumbak and Label Life.
Yes.
So after you acquire them, they both have their own identity. Like Chumbak has a very defined identity of Prince, and Label Life, it was a lot about Malaika.
Right.
So what were the changes that would you immediately look at, other factors other than that, the marketing, in marketing or identity? Would you want to make some changes on that, or did you?
Yeah, so great question. So first of all, we buy brands when usually brands are in trouble financially. That's how we pick up brands, right? And financial trouble comes from many things like distribution, bleeding margins, team costs. So the first few months is on the entire financial planning and getting the thing back on action. We are also buying brands because they are great brands, because the stories are good, they are powerful, they have not lived their story yet. We know that the Label Life can be much bigger than what it is right now. Chumbak can be much bigger than what it is right now. It is, we know that potential. So there's something right that the stories have been and the brand's narrative has been, which is why we are buying it. So after acquisition, we don't immediately jump to change the brand narrative. No. What we do is first do this clean up, what we call, ensure that there's profitability. And then we get into the narrative and say, okay, how do we now change it, make it more future proof? Of course, we sit into all the meetings. We are also always jamming with the marketing folks, spending money on some certain campaigns, certain activation ideas, bringing learnings from across brands. Like there are certain things that, let's say, the Label Life does very well, which Chumbak doesn't do, and vice versa. So those things, cross-pollination of ideas, those things happen. But the first thing we fix is not the brand. We're buying it because the brand was good. So that's really the short answer.
Also, another question. Would you, you spoke you probably acquire the brands because the brand is bleeding well. I thought my friend Preeta made a lot of money, but
100%.
So would the brand be approaching you, or would you go looking for brands like this?
Yeah, it's both ways. It's both ways. In Preeta's case, you can ask her. But it's been pretty so there is always knowledge in the market, right? So we are also working with investment bankers and bankers who are saying that, okay, this brand is ready to buy or sell or whatever. So it's a pretty small territory that way. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Shovik.
Oh yeah.
Hi. My question was really about, in your experience, as more and more brands are being born every day, consumers are becoming more and more aware of, small changes in product and things like that. There's only so much that you can do in terms of product innovation. For example, skincare is a great category to talk about.
Absolutely.
Growing like crazy, Fireside, DSG, everybody's, they have a very strong thesis on personal care and beauty. But I just want your perspective that as things continue to evolve in India and more brands come into the market, don't you think that the amount of budget that's being spent on performance and social and influencer is going to have to be replaced by really, really strong brand research, brand strategy,
100%.
brand narrative development?
100%.
Because the consumer is... you're not going to get by on lookalike brands for very long.
100%. See, two things are going to happen. One is, of course, I agree with you 100%. That's what I started by saying, that's where people are shifting away from. Because long-term brand building is not done with performance marketing spends alone, right? So that's so agreement fully. The second thing that's going to happen is this entire data privacy that is going to kick in. In fact, 2024 is the year when third-party data is going to be, we cannot use, right? So they're going to be masked. So ownership of data, of your consumers, of your own database is going to be far more critical than going onto platforms and actually selling to them, right? Facebook will not be able to, till the time you have database, your own database. So the idea is to build your own connection with your consumers. Therefore, you will be able to do a better job of marketing. So a lot of the effort is actually going into that, understanding, mining data. There's a lot of AI tools that I've used, which is actually reading data very well now. Somebody showed me this tool which actually digs into a LLM database and says, okay, what is my source of gain in Orissa? And pop comes the answer. I was like, really? I mean, it's amazing. I mean, AI is another thing that we should, I don't even know how it's going to impact our lives. And not far away, I'm saying, give it 2 years and you'll see each of our lives how it's impacted by AI in so many ways. So, yeah, for your question, I agree 100% that they will have to shift focus to this. With so many brands, it's already, there are, in skincare if you see, there are 4 or 5 successful brands, but there's a long tail of 80, 90 brands which have launched. And they're still somehow surviving. They're there. We also have a brand in that space, which we have not really invested in. It's called Neemly Naturals. I don't know if you've heard. Anybody heard of Neemly Naturals? Wow.
It's working.
Wow. Okay. Now, the only thing I can say about Neemly Naturals is that the products are great. Our marketing is shit. Okay. We have just not been able to find that right amount of money to spend to reach out to the right people. We have not cracked it. And it's a small brand. It's not a very large brand. So it's only going to loyal bases. It's only going to repeat customers. Some of you have bought Neemly Naturals because I said it, you go back and say, oh, I remember that being very good. Nobody has reminded you because I haven't spent any money on Neemly Naturals, to be honest, right? So it's very, very tough right now to build brands in that space because it's got very cluttered.
Again, if I can just supplement, I know when you're in the midst of that war, it's a, there's a lot of fog of war. There are all of these brands coming at you. But let's not forget that if we were to launch a new brand 30 years ago, whether it is skincare, whether it's a juice brand or whatever it might be, you would have to go up against the Unilevers of the world and the Colgate-Palmolives of the world, and no shopkeeper would even give you time of the day, let alone put your product on a shelf. What's digital marketing, social presence has given us is it has democratized things, right? For the first time, whether you are trying to build your own brand, I keep giving you examples on both sides. You're a finance person, you're an HR person growing up in a company, right? Your talent is the equivalent of content, right? Just like today, the Sundar Pichais of the world and the Satya Nadellas of the world who did not come out of IITs, came out of regional engineering colleges, are leading companies, we as brand creators, product creators, have a right to win if our product is strong. We don't have to go and knock at 50,000 kirana shops to say, yaar, mera ye lipstick rakh lijiye, right? Today you can reach brands pretty directly. But in that, like Shovik was pointing out the paperboard example, one has to kind of think differently by trying to imagine who is my community, how do I get to that community very quickly. The paperboard piece worked because, not just because it found Indigo captive audience for 2 hours and you're selling, but they also kind of thought they could have gone to a bus depot also. No? Why did they not go to a bus depot? Because they figured out that the typical air traveler is indeed going from point A to point B, leaving their homes behind, is of a certain demographic, and is thinking about childhood. Right? जो bus वाला है, he is going from Raipur to the next state, next city 50 kilometers away. He is not leaving anything behind. So understanding the community in which you have to engage with becomes very, very important as just again, going back to who your consumer is, which community it is in, and therefore the need, and then the marketing thing. So, for example, Akasa has just signed up with a coffee brand called Billy Who. Right? Billy Who has been around for about 5 or 6 years,
Yeah.
I think, Bharat and team. I can guarantee you, in 10 months' time, it will explode.
Yeah, the more planes you add, the faster
Yeah,
it
the
will
faster you grow. I mean, you have a captive audience of
Yeah.
2 million customers every month and growing, like, by just putting the product on the plane.
Yeah.
So that is another way of thinking through how to bring down
Sure.
typical traditional marketing cost of customer acquisition.
Hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, I'm Sapna. So actually, I'm going to build a little bit on what, we just discussed. So I think absolutely there's been a massive democratization, but I think the downside of that is also that there's a lot of clutter. So obviously we're discussing right now consumer brands, which are quite fast-paced. But if you talk about certain brands which have a longer consideration time period,
Yeah.
right? Whether it's homes, whether it's luxury cars, or some of these categories which require someone to think through the decision for a longer period of time.
Yes.
How do you manage to build recall, in this consideration phase without being too salesy? What I mean is that you came to a BMW.
That's a great question.
I don't
In
want to
fact-
target you,
Yeah,
all
yeah.
over with ads
Yeah,
of the
yeah,
next 3
yeah.
series, but I want to make sure that you continue to think about
Yeah.
my brand versus an Audi or
Yeah,
a
it's
Mercedes.
an art. It's an art. I've worked with BMW for a few years, so I'll just give you examples of how one used to look at branding opportunities for BMW. Yes, you've come to the showroom, you've seen the car, and you've gone away, right? You've left a number and a name, and I know I won't reach out to you with one extra call. There will be one call made to you saying that, okay, you came here, is this something of interest to you? After that, I'll forget you, right? So now, the deal there is a lot about collaborations, a lot about presence, a lot about experiences, a lot about communities, understanding community needs. Like, there's a golfer community which is there is a sailing community that is there are clubs that I can associate with. So a lot of the brand building happens through association. Like you rightly said, there's a long gestation period. What we call it is that you feel, then think, and then you do, right? It's a feel, think, do matrix. I feel great about a Porsche, right? Then I have to justify in my head that I have to pay that price for a Porsche car, right? That gestation period is about roughly, in my experience, is about 2 to 6 months, right? After you felt strongly. Of course, you feel strongly because you can afford it. Otherwise, you will not, right? Pricing gets out of the way in 1 month if you are not in the consideration side. Then you will see, and the best way to understand consumer behavior is actually look at yourself. You will see whenever anything interests you, you will find that everywhere you go. Like I like that, whatever, that Gucci bag. Every airport I go to, the Gucci store calls me like that. I'm going running to the Gucci store to see that bag again. Maybe not. Keeping it back, and I've done it in 4 airports. And you look at it, this is consumer behavior, right? Or suddenly there is a Paris event that is being hosted by Gucci, which has just come into my feed. Not magically, there are people behind who know it, that you've been to the store, right? So people are targeting you with that, right? Hey, you know what? Gucci is coming to you, and there you go. So here is a narrative from Gucci. So the brands have found other ways of what they call, this is a little technical. There is and it's persuasion, and psychology students will know how persuasion works. There is a central route to persuasion, and there is a peripheral route to persuasion. Any long-term building activity happens only peripherally. I can't tell you bye. So what are the peripheral sources? I will reach you, I will surround you like that. You know, you've come to Jolie's today, you stay close by, please become a member. Next time Jolie's has an event, I'll send you an invite. I'll ask your friend to call you, hey, why didn't I see you at Jolie's yesterday? That's how it happens to all of us. And there you spend 2 lakhs, a membership in, 3 lakhs, my annual fee in, I'm a member. That's how we all work. And that's the way all these expensive brands work. But before I leave, I wanted to show you Does this click? No, I don't want to show you the videos now.
Lots of time before you leave.
Okay.
You haven't made enough money, so right now
I have to talk, yeah. I have no better use of my time today, as he's pointing to say. Okay,
and,
so...
And by the way, Shovik will be there at the mixer in the evening as well.
Yeah, at least for a while.
And he's also going to say...
Some examples that kind of inspire you when you're trying to build a narrative or tell a story in the new age world, because it's not about the TVC anymore alone. There are bunches of communication. I've just put some examples which you can maybe take back or deliberate over today and after today. So when you're looking at engaging and telling narratives, right, there are three aspects of it. One is there is a platform, right? Meta is a platform, has Instagram and Facebook. Stories are told differently on Instagram and Facebook. YouTube is consumed very, very differently. YouTube you consume on TV is very different from the YouTube that you consume on your phone. Connected TV is a big category. Connected TV only goes to premium homes, right? So your understanding of being true to the platform and why that platform is there, YouTube go for information. Meta platforms are more for aspiration. I'll show you a fantastic picture and a 3D revolve of something and you'll say, hey, wow, that's great. But I go to YouTube to see what are the features of the car. Do comparisons, right? So there is informative and there is transformative motivation. This is turning out to be a psychology class, which it was not meant to be, but it is so. There are transformative motives that we have and there are informative motives that we have. We should know what platform is doing what and have messages around that. Second, as I said, you learn how to leverage the data and device and digital platform. You need to leverage that because you've got data. How do you talk to your existing customers? How do you talk to customers who have come and gone away? And those of you who run websites know that there are enough cookies that you can leave back to retarget them, right? Retargeting is something that you do. But retarget with what? Not always with salesy stuff. Retarget with information, retarget with inspiration, right? And the last is you have to only engage the relevant guys. So there is thankfully because of digital, it's become easier now because you can actually tailor your communication to certain audiences, right? And at the center of it is the heart, as you can see. So, one sec. I'll show you some examples now. Go. So, I'm showing you not one, but I'm showing you. Can I step down now? Okay. Yeah. Yeah, on the other slide. Yeah.
Where does the metaverse come in?
Going in the future, I thought metaverse was already here. No, 2 years ago, everybody said it's already here.
It's already here.
Yeah.
The main push trend will start after 2-3 years or
right.
maybe 5 years.
Right.
So there's a lot of data in the metaverse.
Right.
It actually goes up by 4 times.
Right.
So brands in the future.
Right.
I mean, we are yet. So I was just telling Mr. Aditya also earlier that Web3 nobody's talking about in these sessions.
Right.
We are in Web 2.2 in India, Web 3 is outside India. So where will the Web 3 come here in your brand platform? Where will the metaverse come in? Because data is playing a very critical role.
Yeah, data. So like I said, data, and I agree with you that it plays a very critical role. There is a challenge that I'm seeing where artificial intelligence is somehow taking over a lot of the marketing narratives, even in the Web 3, right? If you see the interplay right now, the OpenAI platforms are actually speeding way faster than one had ever imagined them to, right? I'll give you an example. I saw a script written in English, okay, which had real-time translation into 5 Indian languages and spoken in the voice of a man and a woman in the actual accent, done in exactly 3 minutes. By an OpenAI platform, right? This didn't exist. So I'm saying all these things are converging. So when I'm saying that you talk about the narrative will even exist in the metaverse. The same narratives. The only thing is that, are you building brands for the metaverse? I'm not an expert at that. I don't think anybody's really done a great job at it yet. It's still unexplored. So we'll wait and watch what happens in terms of selling and buying things on the metaverse. That kind of marketing. There are a few things like events which have been sold. Concerts that have been sold. There are some special edition Nike shoes or whatever that has been sold, but those have been just flashes in the pan like a fad and has gone away. Nobody's actually talked about the metaverse in the last 1 year very seriously as a business idea. So I will just rest my case there. I don't know too much to comment beyond this. So 7 hacks. The first hack is about building the consistent visual language, right? It's the first thing that you do. You have an identity, you have typography, you have color palette, you have characters, you have 3D animation. Whatever you do, you build a certain consistent language. Second is, this is the learning that we've had on digital more often than not. Don't keep your content very, very long. Okay, I'm not giving you a time limit. It's not, you don't need to do a 15 and 30 seconder because TV edits allow for that. You can do a 7 seconder, 4 seconder, 10 seconder. Keep it as short or as long and as interesting as possible. So that is another thing that you should know. And do it, just say it should be as little as I need. Nothing more than that. So if my story could be told in 5 seconds, do that in 5 seconds and get out of there. The other thing is that how do I think, right? Because I have to be platform oriented, right? I have to think visually, I have to think square, think vertical, think whatever I'm doing in the feed, how do I come? I have some examples, I hope they work. There are simple hacks like camera POV, framing, scrolling, multiple frames, split screens. There are a lot of techniques which are very easy to hack. So use that makes it more interesting. And again, like the best thing to do is to look at your own selves and see where do you stop. When you're scrolling Instagram, where is your finger stopping? Make a note of that. I stopped because. And you'll find 5 great ideas at the end of the day. Just look at your own behavior. And those are the hacks that you need to use for building your own narratives also. This is the storytelling part. Everything, try and build an interaction. Anything that you do, even a simple Instagram post, you can direct it to the website. Whether people click it or not, don't worry. All stories allow you a feed, allow you buy now, blocks. Takes you straight to the website. Use it because ROI is something that will be guiding your business's success. So don't miss that. Yeah? Last thing, actually fifth thing, not the last thing, is make it work in mute. Because a lot of people here in this room are also scrolling through multiple things and don't have the volume up, right? Because you don't want others to know. So whatever communication you have, ensure that it works in mute. Ensure that there is some text which is supporting the visuals, which is still keeping it interesting. Don't expect people to hear it loudly all the time. Everything that you do in brand marketing has to work for performance and growth as well. Because you have to finally sell. Everything is got to give you some ROI, right? So if you're creating a film, then make that film repurpose for your performance and growth as well. Put it as an ad on Facebook, on YouTube, use all platforms or even channels, even media that allows you advertising, right? In-feed advertising or connected television. GeoTV allows you advertising. So use any platform, but ensure that there is a clickability there, like I said last, so that it can drive some growth. And for those of you who can afford a celebrity, make them sweat. Because, this is the time that, a lot of celebrities, in fact, some of the celebrities that we've worked with are not really signed up saying 1 day, 1 year, or 2 days, 1 year, and this is my fee. Our contracts look very different. Our contracts look like, okay, we will shoot for you, with you for 1 day. Then you will have, every month, you will have a post for 6 months. You will have a collab reel thrice in a quarter. You will have, make you a part of my performance assets on platforms, right? So the contract, detail it out. Think about everything that they can do for you through the year. Not one ad, not one piece of comms, but make that sweat. Make your PR sweat. Make your celebrity sweat. Because you're paying them money and everybody agrees eventually. They will first come with any celebrity management folks here? Okay. You're there? Okay. Oh, no. You're not, do you manage celebrities? Okay. So celebrity management companies will come with a standard contract. Please negotiate very hard. So that's another hack. I just wanted to show you some brand building narratives that we've done for True Browns. Not for the pride of it, but to say that here there was one celebrity that we got in. She's no longer there. And she was not that big actually about 2 years ago. She used to be big once upon a time, lost relevance. We created a simple narrative, but we worked with her for a year. So the reason I'm wanting to tell this to you is very simple, is that our contract was very much linked to sale. It was not a usual celebrity contract. We said we are launching a season with you, and whatever we make, you make a percentage of that. We had given an option of saying that, okay, only sales related or something fixed. So when you put a hand here, you have to put a hand there, right? If she would have just gone only, sales led, she would have earned a lot more money as against being a celebrity endorser, right? Does it play? It's mute. How do I play this? Okay. Does it have to be? Okay, perfect. And the volume.
मेरी परछाइयों में रंग हैं घुले, वक्त के साथ मेरी गुफ्तगू चले। मेरी आंखें सिर्फ आंखें नहीं, अनगिनत अफसाने हैं। इनमें सदियां भी, समंदर भी और कई ज़माने हैं। मैं महकूं बन कस्तूरी, मैं खुद में खुद से पूरी।
There's another one that I would like to play. Yeah.
मैं बारिशों की धुन पे थिरकती महकती, खामोशियां ओढ़े दुनिया बनाती, खुद को खोके हूँ खुद को पाती, मैं माटी।
Simple, like 10 seconders, 15 seconders, stuff that you want to buy, and the clothes were good. I mean, they were really good, so they flew off the shelf. It's doing very well. When we acquired the brand was at X. Right now, it's at 10X in about 1.5 years. So success story of last year. Beautiful campaign, much appreciated. Simple storytelling. It's all about the woman being complete in herself. It's not something that you've not heard before, right? There are other brands which have done it. It's just the way it's done. The choice of celebrity, the amount of effort that the celebrity herself put in this, apart from, of course, the founder, who's a brilliant woman. I think you must get her for a talk one of these days. Udita, she's quite often seen in forums, so she would love to come here, I think, sometime, talk to all of you. Just the journey. Again, it's heartfelt. The journey of this brand is actually who she is. She is that. She thinks I'm complete by myself. I don't need anybody's endorsement, or I don't need people to tell me that I'm good. That it comes from a place of conviction. So the entire brand narrative has been built around like that, like most fashion brands. Fashion brands take after the designers mainly, right? The designer's personality is reflected on most fashion brands that you see, right? So similarly in this pursuit, the storytelling was done. I've just shown you two. There were multiple. There are at least 20 things that we've done in the last 1 year. Now for a brand of that size, could we afford it? No, we couldn't afford it. But like Aditya said, we never wanted to be X. We wanted to be 10X, 20X, 30X. So yeah, initially we spent a lot more money on building it, and now the brand is reaping the fruits of harvest. So that's the magic, of brilliant storytelling. And this is not being done by any agency. We actually worked with partners, writers, Hindi writers, heartland writers, filmmakers, good filmmakers. Didn't spend a ton of money. So when you're in a startup, or when you're doing something as a early stage venture, think of all this numbers, and then say, okay, let me take a prudent call. But again, you need somebody who understands how this is done. If you're not that, get that person in the room with you. Could be a friend, could be a professional or whoever, and get that person to start thinking with you on what you're trying to create. Tell the stories that you want to tell. Don't create stories and say this will work. Don't look at market opportunities outside and say, okay, maybe this works. That's a product idea. But the brand idea has to come from a story that you believe in. The product idea can come from anywhere. Like, for example, there is a great amount of zest today in this, what do you call those diamonds? Lab-grown diamonds, of course, yeah. So every day I get somebody's call saying, I have a lab-grown diamonds idea, right? This is the next big thing. So the problem with all that is that, you have a product idea, but then what is the story about lab-grown diamonds that you're going to tell women, right? Women who always have said diamonds are the girl's best friend, and you're going to tell them lab-grown diamonds are the girl's best friend, they will not buy it. So how are you going to narrate that story? So my first question to any founder who comes and says, I have a lab-grown diamond idea, my first question is, kahani kya hai? Kya bologe? What will you say? So I'm saying, if you think of it like that, saying I have a product idea, but I need to tell a story that can hit you here and here, I'm home. Otherwise, it's It's a chance ki baat. You can spend a lot of money and get away with it, but chance hai. Okay, no, lots of examples I have. You want to see some of them? There's time? Okay, it's 5-7 minutes. So this is in-stream stuff that we've done. You can play one and see how this have worked. These are from my previous engagements. Yeah. Volume?
Yeah.
Just play that again, because otherwise you'll miss the context. Play the next one, please. Next one.
Can't believe you can do it. Yes.
Mom, Dad, I just want to thank you for always being there for me.
Simple in-stream ideas, no? Very wonderfully done. If you can just navigate to the next slide, please. I can't do it from here. Yeah. So why I love this is because these are scripted for handheld short format phones, which all of us have. The brand is there. I want to see it again and again, multiple viewing. Okay, and also there is strong branding at the end of it. I know what this is all about. So it's not just about the story, it's also how it's told and how I retain it at the end of it, right? So all the logical stuff that we saw earlier is actually reflected in this campaign, saying how I go vertical, how I have strong branding presence, how I tell the story, and how I can do it in a format that works, right? Similarly, KFC, this is a scroll thing that we've done for Facebook. Yeah, if you can just play that, please.
Tap to unmute. Thanks for unmuting me. Or not. I really can't tell. Welcome to the KFC scroll through. It's like a drive-through, but right here on your feed. Just click on the meal you want and we'll deliver it straight to your front door. No, not yet. So, what will it be? Perhaps the Zinger box, if you want it spicy. Or the super dinner. Delicious. I know what you want. You want the bucket, don't you? The bucket. Bucket. I said bucket. Guys, bucket.
Yeah. See, it's unforgettably silly. Right? You'll never forget that silliness. There's more. I mean, if you just scroll that, please. There's one more. Yeah. He's not gone. You scroll again, you'll find him again. No, play. Go up, please. Okay, play anyone. No, next one, please. After this. When you scroll, yeah. Now play this, please. Oh, you have to play, yeah. Okay, that's fine.
Still haven't decided? Maybe this will help.
So after every 5-6 scrolls, it keeps coming back to you. Anyway, you get the drift, right? If you just scroll, there are multiple of this. So you just scroll through it. Again, why I love this, it's scripted to grab your attention. In the feed, there is serial storytelling. In fact, there are 4 stories being told. Average time that a person used to, this is Facebook era, 4 years ago. How much time do you think an average Indian spent on Facebook in a day? 4 years ago. An hour, absolutely an hour, right? So also there is data that suggests every time you logged into Facebook or even Instagram, how much time do you spend there? So then it's calibrated to how many pieces of communication do you need. When you're scrolling, I need to be with you 3 times or 4 times. And then you see all of it and hoping at the end of it you order something or not. So yeah, again, this is not in India right now, you can't order, but in the countries that it was used, you can order straight from the screen. So there was an ROI kind of there. This is what we did in India for BMW. Yeah. Volume, no volume.
With every year that you delay buying a BMW, you lose out on roughly 440 thrilling drives. Almost 1,517 moments of adrenaline rush. About 1,800 escapades. Loosely, 4,028 moments of absolute joy. We've done the math, and you've also done the math on how you can avoid missing all this. With the BMW 360 plan, your dream car is easy to buy, easy to own, and has a secure future. Some things are best enjoyed young.
See, this is working at so many levels. First of all, you're saying that you want to sell to younger population, right? Older people buy BMWs, you want to reduce the age. So actually this was an ad for finance, BMW 360, which basically makes you afford a BMW even before you think you can afford a BMW. In that you've done some, again, gibberish data and said you're missing out, FOMO, biggest insight in humankind, and put a 360 plan there and say now buy the BMW, right? It all works with FOMO, right? You're missing out, guys, you're missing out. You missed out on that, you missed out on that party, that's how it works. This is 19, just before lockdown, 19. A very successful campaign. After that, BMW actually has not done any campaigns in India. We are repurposing the international content, yeah. Again, custom cuts possible, yeah. We run?
No. Just in case anybody has a few questions for Shovik.
Yeah, I can stop. I can just keep going on. Let me just.
There's one question.
Because this is that dangerous.
I know. No, I'll stop it. I'll take questions.
I had a quick question.
Yes,
How
please.
do you, because you said in some countries and not in India, you could directly order from the ad. But something like this BMW that shows on television, how do you track how many extra sales you've generated because of that ad? I mean, on anything, on any platform. What I'm saying is that because sometimes it's not directly, if the person can't click through and buy the product immediately, then how do you really track?
You can't track. I don't know what's happening. Is it me? Is that better? Yeah, perfect. No, you cannot track. Even if you have YouTube connected TV, like those of you who watch television or YouTube, I only know you watching it, but I can't make you click it because you can't click a TV and go and buy, right? So there is that's why the brand marketing and performance marketing spends are isolated. That's why I said if you're spending 30 paisa on performance marketing, which is actually only about links and clicks, and the other 6 on branding, then this is that 6 paisa, okay? However, if you're doing anything on social media, in most places you'll have something clickable. Like if you're doing an Insta story today, you can have a buy now click that goes to your website and you can track how many people landed up from there, right? So social media offers you a lot of it, but like television, some of the social media connected TVs and don't offer that. So it goes out of the 6 paisa budget.
Yeah, we'll just do these 3 questions.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hi, Shovik. Going back to the question Sapna asked about the high consideration purchases, you mentioned psychology and persuasion, and you spoke about peripheral sources. Which was the other one? Could you elaborate?
Central. My central route to persuasion. What's your name? Sorry, I didn't.
I'm Pooja. Sorry.
Pooja.
Yeah.
Pooja, I am a very nice person. Okay, please call me home for dinner. Please call me home for dinner. Yeah, great. So that's central route. I've just asked you the question directly, saying please do this for me, right? The peripheral route is the other route where I don't tell you. I say sometimes, when people call me, I cook great meals for them. Yeah, where I am a great chef. Yeah, that's peripheral, right? I have not really asked you to call me, but I have hinted. I mean, hint.
But then every time you're doing a call to action,
Yeah.
social media, then that becomes central, right?
Yeah, absolutely. No, these are, that question was relevant for the very expensive luxury brands. It is not relevant for a KFC because KFC want people to buy. So you need as many opportunities as tell you, please buy. Like a Coke to the target audience, a Coke needs to reach out to the target audience at least 4 to 5 times a month in various ways. Some kind of reach, apart from the outdoors that you see, I'm saying just the comms. The comms need to reach you for 4-5 times in a month. So it depends on what you're selling. But if you're selling a Louis Vuitton bag, no, sorry, you don't need to advertise that and reach consumers so many times. You have to create experiences, you have to create interaction points, engagements, etc. Yes, please.
Hi. Okay, so I have a fashion brand, and
Lovely.
it would fall into the premium luxury brand, not too high, but a luxury brand, affordable luxury.
What's
I think
it
would be
called?
the right. Sajda Lahiri.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that, and it's just 2 years old,
Right.
and I have just gotten into performance marketing.
Okay.
So for me, that's a pain point, and it's
How
been.
you price that? How you price?
So it's from 12,000
Yeah.
going up to 35,000.
Performance marketing is going to be a giant waste of money for you.
Yeah, so
I
that
think,
is
yeah,
why
it's going to be a giant waste of money.
if I needed to be consistent or wait or
I mean-
not get to that route for marketing.
So I have a friend who started this brand called Talking Threads. I don't know if you've seen that. They make sherwanis and again priced little more expensive than what you're saying. But I know from the experience that no amount of internet works for these brands. You have to be at the right place. You have to have the right store experience. You have to have the right community. How do you build a brand through what we haven't touched upon is building brands through people who are already owners of the brands, which is advocacy or evangelism, whichever way you look at it. There's a full science behind advocacy that all expensive brands have mastered, right? Advocacy is all about me consuming something like I'm a big advocate for Veja's shoes. You know Veja shoes? Yeah, some of you know Veja shoes. Not too many people know. So anybody who talks about sneakers to me, I always tell them Veja. They say, what is this? I feel very proud that like I'm 30 years older than you, you don't know what Veja is. Then the other thing is that actually I genuinely like that brand because it's all chrome-free leather and it's this and it's got a Brazilian story, it's got vegan origins and all that and French, non-advertised. So that's the way advocacy works. And how does Veja work for me? How did they get in touch with me? They didn't get in touch with me. They just threw in a lot of comms in different places, or through Instagram, through various means. You have to learn from first talk to the customers. I think spend as much time with the existing customers as you can to understand why they bought and what they think about you. And then that reason, you somehow have to reach out to more people. That's really it. And that you can do events. Do you have a store? Yes. Okay, so you can do store events, call people in, which I'm sure you do, right? You participate in certain, trunk shows, which I'm sure you do, right? So those are the tricks and trades, and slowly it starts catching up because selling such expensive things is not, some of the things that you saw here don't apply to you at all. But what does apply is that film that I showed you on Chitrangada Singh, that kind of giant landscaping narrative where, oh wow, this is what I want to buy. Now you need something which is wow as comms. So if you're spending money on anything, spend money on building some wow communication things, which could be great photography, which I'm sure you're investing, but even better, how do you push that photography? What is the story that photographs say? Like for example, if you look at any luxury brand in the world, the photography is what makes the brands what they are. Like it's the photography. I mean, you see any luxury brand and you open a fashion magazine, you look at that picture and there are layers and layers and layers and layers. And brands have layers, something that I didn't talk about. If you understand the brand once, it's not a strong brand. If you understand the brand twice, it's not a premium brand. If you never understand the brand, that's a luxury brand.
I know we have a lot of questions, and Shovik's promised to be here after our next session. We have one last question, and then we'll have to let you go.
So,
Yes.
thanks, Shovik. I think we covered.
You're there. Okay.
Yeah, so we've covered a lot of ground on creating new brands.
Right.
My question is more about established brands, but how to keep them relevant at the same time keeping the core value intact.
So the second part of what I showed you in terms of telling stories more interestingly and more interactively is the challenge that all existing brands need to embrace better. Like when you're looking at ideas, are you platform out or are you idea out? What it means is, are you thinking platform native first? Are you thinking this is my idea and I'm going to tailor it to the platform? I'm just asking a simple question because most people are idea out. I have a story narrative and I'm idea out. But are you thinking platform out? So some of the existing behaviors you need to rethink if you're an existing successful brand because you have the money to spend. So use some of this that I spoke about in the second half in terms of how do you make sure there are connections, there is ROI driven stuff, there is stuff that you do vertically, stuff that you do, with silly things that you do that make it interesting, keep it viral, all those things. I think those are the things that you need to continue doing. Just push yourself harder on associations, advocacy, celebrity if you have. Push yourself harder on everything that you're doing, just push yourself harder on those. That's what I would do.
All right, let's give a big round of applause.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And he's not running away. He is here for we have a quick coffee break. So those of you who want to hound him all the way, all around over the coffee.
Then I'm going to grab a cup of coffee for sure.
All right. And then we have Shubhika of Papa Don't Preach for the last session today before we settle down for drinks. So quick break. We'll be back at 4:30. And for Shovik. So one moment.
Thank you. Let me just hop down. No, that's fine. Thank you very much.